Every time I close my eyes, I see the night again. In all the dreams I have, I hear the sound of angels cry. Take me back, I need to find those distant memories. Hold on close, only not far through it all.
It is Thursday night, and I'm back. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen.
We are live, and boy, today, Dave, we got a great guest lined up, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the, there's only been 7 of us that held the NWF belt, and this is one of them. So it's not, it's a small group of company that held that belt.
It's an exclusive club.
Yep, and so we have one of them. He's, of course, an NWF Hall of Fame. I'm wearing the shirt. And, of course, I'm talking about none other than Ace, Andrew Karlsen. He was, for most of 1985, he was the champion of the league. And we'll talk about that. We got a great show to watch as well, because it's going to be the show where Ace won the belt from yours truly. So that'll make for good conversation as well. But before we do this, Dave, we're going to run a little highlight reel of Ace, Andrew Karlsen. It only goes about 3 or 4 minutes, but these matches, Dave, they were shoot matches, meaning they were not predetermined. So the title matches in this whole year. So the matches got kind of physical, and Ace was a competitor. He didn't want to lose that belt. So pay attention to just how physical some of this stuff gets with him in this highlight reel. Let's take a look at this.
Alrighty.
Not really. That's a very painful move with submission. On the rope! What was on the rope? Kelsey's trying to get out.
The ropes clotheslines him right over the ropes. His head's draped over. He can chase me all he wants. He might get me in the ring. What's good that gonna do? He can't get me.
Oh, that really pulls the muscle of the chest and the neck. And your opponent is defenseless.
Break it. I think you've all been waiting for this. My surprise line. Sleeper. Come on, Crusher. Oh, this is a very powerful and painful hold.
Oh, look at that.
This could, he could submit and get in the sleeper.
And if he wins, you have to take him on next week. How are your feelings about that?
If he wins, which I very much doubt.
Championship. Kid Kelsey against Ace, the champion. We know he's right in the face. Ace. Oh, and look at Ace kick him in the and headlock on luxury lane.
Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, look at this. Oh, Ace is definitely faster than Kid Kelsey, but Kid Kelsey's more.
Rough, huh? Oh, and that Ace, he's a quick little guy. Ace is putting him up against the poles. He is quick. Oh. Crusher Crossen or Pretty Boy?
Crusher Crossen or Pretty Boy, I don't think either of them deserve a shot.
In the area, an elbow drop, another one.
You just elbowed him anyway. You don't care if you have.
Right now they're pretty equal. Rough Falls in blue. Ace in the maroon. Oh, 15.
Crusher, he tries to go after it. He's ranked down. He shouldn't even get the chance at the title. That's all I have to say.
10 seconds.
Oh, right across the head.
The ropes. Oh. Little interference there from.
Well, I was surprised for Crusher Crossen. He doesn't know what it is. I haven't told no one about it.
Rock and roll, let's go!
You don't know how hard it is to pin old Karlsen. There's 2 minutes left in the match.
And as for Kid Kelsey, USA blimp, I have a surprise for him too.
And so is Ace. They're just saying Ace is a waste again.
Station, which is interfering in our signals and our satellites, so we can't.
Oh, but Ace fights back. He throws him and and he holds that arm behind his back. Puts him into the rope.
It's all about.
And then look at Ace, he picks him up by the hair. He's not gonna play Mr. Nice Guy.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time limit, Lano.
Street clothes match. Well, oh boy, I'm ready for it.
Oh, a body slam, my goodness.
Could be the game. No, he doesn't. A submission hold by the Ace. He submit. There it is. Ding, ding, ding. All over, and Ace.
This is going to be unreal. Sad right now.
I think you want to pay attention to.
He's giving them the full Nelson. Your winner, the heavyweight championship of the world, Ace.
The fish wins! We won!
Give me this.
Pretty intense stuff there, Dave, and some of those title matches.
Oh yeah.
Now, the thing is, it was the title matches that had these shoot type situations. Now, when it was a tag match or some other kind of match or non-title, it would be predetermined. But all the title matches were shoots like that. So they might start out working together, but it turns into that, what we just seen.
Right.
Where it gets pretty wild. So, well, I say we bring in our special guest, Dave. Let's not delay anything anymore.
All right, let's bring in. I jokingly called him this during our pre-show talk. The master of the rope break, Ace Andrew Karlsen.
Hey guys, happy to be here.
Andrew
Hey,
Ace Andrew Karlsen. Yep, great to see you again, Andrew, after all these years.
No doubt, Crusher. Real good to see you too. Dixie Dave, good to meet you. Been looking forward
Good to meet you
this.
too. I
Yeah,
always enjoy meeting alumni.
I don't know what looks better, Dave, that world title there or Andrew himself. But you're looking good, Andrew, after what, it's been what, like 30, 40 years? It's
Yeah,
35
it
years
has.
probably since.
I've got 50 under my belt. And that that belt is a piece of work. It's a piece of art, no doubt. You guys have really done very well with that. It really is a piece of, it's beauty.
You know that the design, so that belt that you had the first version of it in '85, and then in '86 it changed a little bit. Steve modified it, and then in '87 it got a little modified again. So what we did is we took all three designs and kind of incorporated them into one.
Okay.
So like the features from the year you had it, those side plates, that's how they were with the coins, and that NWF on the arc on the top is how that was done. And then we took stuff from '86 and stuff from '87. We kind of combined it because it's like, what belt do we go with here? So it was the same belt, it just changed a little bit.
Okay.
Basically, Crusher took all of his favorite features from each belt and morphed it into one.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And I'll tell you, it's interesting when you watch that highlight reel that we just seen, Dave. Notice the submissions, because when it's a shoot match, when it's not predetermined, well, you want to win, and so it's easier to make a guy give up than it is to actually try to pin him. Ace used the camel clutch in the beginning, and then he went to this kind of this reverse full Nelson move that he did a lot. And
that camel clutch that worked well for me initially. Like you said, the pin for me, that really wasn't an option. I was wrestling guys that were bigger, stronger, that sort of thing. So I needed to find a way, right? And Dixie Dave, you can chide me about the ropes, but well within the rules all the time.
Absolutely,
and you're right.
Absolutely. What have I said the whole time, Dave? I've echoed this. I said I don't blame Andrew at all for grabbing the ropes. If it means you keep the belt and all you got to do is grab the ropes, so be it.
Hey, those title matches, all I needed was a draw. Make it to the end, and I win.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's how a lot of them went, and then there was only one time that Chuck Roberts, Roughhouse Roberts, actually beat you in the ring, and I wasn't, even though I had to go along with it for the show, I wasn't ready for that kind of title change, and so I basically for that week I talked to Chuck several times on the phone, and I talked him out of it. Because I wasn't going to just take it from him. I wanted him to agree to give it back. Yeah. And he finally did. He goes, well, if you feel that much about it, I'll give it up. So
he was tough to wrestle. He was a tough wrestler.
He passed away. 20 years ago.
Wow. I did not know that.
He was only 32 or 33.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So and I found out about it like 10 years later. I wasn't even aware. So I didn't stay in touch with them, so.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, he was a tough guy in the ring, and that was probably your biggest, hardest challenge, honestly, had to been Chuck.
I think so.
Yeah.
I definitely, of course, I had lots of matches just watching that 3-minute clip. I didn't realize, of course you can't remember all of it, but man, that's a lot of wrestling. And we'd go, we'd have matches back to back to back, and we put in a full day when we were wrestling.
There many times where you had to go 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 in one taping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did that quite a bit. But yeah, so so the show we're going to watch, let me get the information up here. It's TV Taping 34 from Group W Cable on February 16th, 1985. This is the show that that Andrew won the belt, or Ace. You still go by Andrew, right? When you not Andy.
Yeah, I go by Andrew. You know, funny, that nickname has stuck through my lifetime.
The Ace?
Oh yes, it has. And more people know Ace than they do Andrew, I think. But I've never been an Andy, and sometimes people only know me by Ace, and then when it comes to a, you know, maybe a more formal sort of arrangement, they don't feel comfortable calling me Ace. They kind of stammer and throw out Andy, and it's like, no, it's not Andy. It's either Ace or Andrew.
Well, I remember Brian Peterson used to always call you Andy.
Yes, he did.
And so I wasn't, you know, but sometimes people, like, when they're a kid, yeah, they went by one way and they go by different. So I didn't know if I just didn't want to I didn't want to call you Andrew if you weren't going by Andrew. So
no, thank you.
But yeah, so when Ace joined the show, first of all, do you remember who brought you in?
Matt Kelsey.
Was Matt? Okay, I wasn't sure if it
Yeah.
was Matt or Brian.
Well, see, I was thinking about that too, and it could have been Brian, but I, for whatever reason, have this memory of getting in the car with the Kelseys.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say, and I think I could be wrong, but I think it was Matt that came up with your name, right, Ace?
That's another thing that I just can't quite put a finger on exactly. I don't know if it predated the show or not, because you know I was a tennis player, and the kids kind of pretended like I was good or something like that and whatever. And
so maybe you got it from that.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure which one came first, but I mean, I think that they gave traction to each. I do remember when it really caught on. This kid, Eric Lean, in school, he must have seen a taping, and he tracked me down in the hallway one day, and he's like, Ace! And then, I mean, he was outspoken, and everybody knew after Einer knew.
Right. Well, I know we had guys come on the show, like when we had Chad Ronnebaum on a few weeks ago. He remembers you being on the show before he joined, and he also remembered like Todd Campa before he came on in '86. So,
okay.
Yeah, he was telling me that he knew of you guys on it first.
Yeah.
That he was just watching at that time. But yeah, so your first character you had, though, we watched the show a few weeks ago. It was taping 32. We had you be the Russian Destruction. You wore this hideous black and red ski mask.
Yep. Yes.
And yeah, that was your first character on the show. You weren't Ace. And I remember after the show, you came up to me and you said, "Hey, is it all right if we kill this gimmick? I'd rather just be me."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, that's fine. We could do that." So Ace, the Russian Destruction lasted one show.
It was hot under that mask.
Yeah, and it almost fell off a few times, and I don't know how well that would have went if we kept going with it anyway. But all right, Dave, I'm going to start. All right. Bringing our file here, and I'm going to start our stream. Get this show going. So, like I said, this show is the tape. This is a show where Ace won the belt. Now, what Andrew doesn't know, unless he read my book, this was a shoot title match, like I talked about. And I wrote about this in my book, but I never told anybody at the time. But I took a dive for Andrew in this match. I let him win. I honestly did, but I didn't want anybody to know, so I made it pretty convincing. The match goes on for like 12 minutes, and these several camel clutches, and I really made it look like it was a wear down. But the reason I did that is because I wanted there to be a change. I was the champion through most of the '84, and I just wanted to change it up. And I didn't really want to give Peterson wanted the belt so bad, and I did not want to give it to him. And I thought, let's give it to this newer guy, because it'll just stir everything up. It'll create a little animosity with the guys, and that's kind of what I was up to.
I know everybody wasn't happy about that.
No, they were kind of they didn't see it coming. And
First things first.
Plus, the other reason I did it, you wanted to be a heel,
only
and you
reason
were
it looked like
popular
I
in
was,
school, popular with the girls and everything. I'm
losing
thinking,
a
how am I
match
going
with
to get him
A/slash
over on
my
the show as a heel, as a
stupid
bad guy?
title defense
Well,
was
everybody
senseless. I don't know why
likes
the committee
me.
did that.
You know,
But the
we had that
reason why I did
NWF
that was
hotline,
losing-
and
of course,
I think our
losing.
biggest fan base in these
only
days
reason I
were
looked like I was
kids,
losing is
probably
because
7, 8, 9-year-old kids,
I didn't get enough
because
sleep
they
the night
left
before,
messages on the
but I
hotline all the
didn't get enough
time.
sleep.
Okay.
You know, that
Plus, he had
age
four
bracket.
markets all over his hand.
Yeah.
So I figured,
stupid. I think he needs to get his
let's let
eyes
Ace
checked.
beat Crusher Crossen, who they all liked
But
for the
now
last
back to
year.
the
They're
question.
those that kept watching. Well,
Okay.
shit,
I'm gonna-
Andrew.
he's
That
gonna get another
after this
voting
show,
chance
they
because
were
the committee
all
thinks
those
that they
kids
should
left
do it.
messages that week. I
I'm
must have
gonna
had
win.
like a dozen messages, and they were
win.
wanting a rematch
I've
next
been
week.
Really?
training
Yeah.
last week, and I know.
So I figured, mission accomplished. This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to stir it up.
Yeah.
Now, and then me and Team USA.
And that
had a
original
charity match
belt
coming out
was
of
the
show.
TWA,
Me against
because we
Kid
were called the
Kelsey.
Twin Cities Wrestling
Deciding
Association in the
amazing
beginning.
match for our tag team.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't remember that.
So that first belt that you actually win here is actually, it was a TWA, but we called it the NWF belt. It wasn't until Steve joined that he made that really
Okay.
nice belt.
Now to have
that
an
we got.
interview with the topic of this, Ace. Well,
Merciless
you're a new
Mike on the
wrestler. Last
mic.
week you put up a good
Yep.
fight against the Crusher.
He's doing the interviews because
How do you
Rich
feel about this
Taylor
wrestling program?
Yeah, I really
ended
like
up
it, but
leaving
you know,
the show at
last
this
week,
point. He got
he
busy
was
with
saying
school
he
and
wasn't
everything. He was a
losing,
little
but
bit older than
he
us.
said
Remember
he
Rich
was.
Taylor, our
He was
announcer?
laying right
I do
here,
not.
folks.
Yeah,
And
you were only
got
with one
carried
show
out,
with him.
and
Oh.
just doesn't make sense.
Your first
that
couple
he could
shows.
win me, but
So how many shows had I been in prior to
Okay,
this?
thank you.
2.
Yeah. So this was my third.
Yep, this is your third taping.
Now for
Okay.
the next match.
I don't, unless we had a Monday Night Madness show or something, but I don't think we did. You know, they used to do that
Oh,
talk
we're
show.
kicking it off with
Now,
Crusher versus
into the
Ace.
ring.
Yeah, you know, this is really weird that we went with the title match first. Usually this would be like the last match of the show,
Crusher, Crossen.
but it's kind of awkward that we're doing it right off the bat in the show. I don't know why that happened. Anytime there's music like Eye of the Tiger, I have to lower it so we don't get dinged with copyrights on YouTube, but
Crusher, Crossen.
You know, just the production of it all was immediately just impressive to me. You know, from the step one.
yeah.
You know, to have the opportunity to grab a microphone, to be in the ring, to be behind a camera. It was just like, wow, what an opportunity. It was so cool. And I mean, just so impressive that you're probably, what, are you a couple years older than me? 2, 3 years
Yeah.
older?
Yeah, this was, what was this, 85? I'd have been
And here we
15.
are for the match.
So at the time, you just seemed so much older than me because you were just so in charge, and it seemed like you knew so much, you know, to put all this together. So I was in awe of all of it.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, Andrew, this was, what people have to remember nowadays is we didn't have an internet
Crusher,
or a YouTube or any of that kind of stuff. So this was kind of like our internet, really, when we would get to go on this show and do all this and film it and have everybody watch on cable, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the unique thing back then in those days. And it's not, this community television these days has kind of died out. It's not a thing anymore, but it was pretty,
Kicks him.
you know, if you had cable television, the chances are you came across our show because there's only like 40 or 50 channels at that time.
Was there any way to gauge viewership at the time?
What's that?
Was there any way to gauge viewership at the time?
Crusher, Crossen, he hits
The only
him.
way I could gauge it was from our hotline. I know that whenever they had glitches at the cable company and the show stopped or
Hits it,
something,
elbow to the back.
my phone would start ringing. You know, the hotline.
Oh, okay.
And all sorts of people like, hey, it's not coming in. We don't got any audio. The audio's not working. That happened one time, I remember. And so I'm getting all these phone calls with the audio not working, you know. And I had to explain to them, it's not out of my control. You know, I don't have any. This is at the cable company.
Crusher, Crossen, he had this comb.
What do you
So,
have there,
I mean-
a comb?
What's that?
What do you have there, a comb?
Referee is down
Yeah, a
now.
comb.
Crusher, Crossen must have hit him
There was a
or something.
couple foreign objects that we always seem to use. The wrench in these days,
yeah.
because it was used to tighten the ropes and stuff, and it was always around there somewhere. And we had that pan that we'd use as a foreign object.
Oh no, Ace comes
That
in.
made a good sound.
Hits
Yeah,
him.
it did, and that's why we used it.
Yeah.
Oh,
because it didn't hurt.
Head cracker.
Right.
Whatever you call them things.
But yeah, like I said, now these shoot matches, this is very typical. It would be you'd work with each other, but then if this like in a normal shoot for like Andrew when he's defending the belt, as the time limit starts to run down, and then it kind of the match kicks into gear, and somebody's trying to win, and and that gets pretty intense. I mean,
how long do we set for the matches?
7.
I think it's usually a 10-minute time limit we usually set, but this one I think goes a little longer than 10 minutes. But there is not an actual clock running, so people are always kind of guesstimating it.
Okay.
Where we were at.
Yeah, looks like Ryan Kelsey reffing.
I was gonna say, yeah, Ryan Kelsey reffing over there in the match here.
Foot to the eyes of Ace.
And this ring, Andrew, as you remember, it wasn't really a ring. It was a stage, and it looked like one, and it was hard as a rock. And you couldn't really hit these ropes either. You could, like when we got into the garage, the ring got a little more workable as far as hitting the ropes and stuff.
Saying he has the brain.
And that's
I remember the ring being better in the garage.
Another thing too, that's Todd or Troy Dozowski commentating. I'm listening here. Calling our, doing calling the match. Yeah,
a question for you.
Yeah.
Which ring was worse to work? This one or Fred Moore?
Oh God, that wasn't fun either. Well, Fred Moore was tough because we were doing more. We got more advanced with the moves.
Right.
But because we were limited, we were still growing at this stage, with the wrestling part of it.
Right.
And so we didn't take massive bumps in like this ring. But when you did, when I did that drop kick, that hurt landing on this damn wooden stage.
Some sort fell down. I don't know how.
Yeah, not a lot of give there.
No, there's no give, and the ring in the garage didn't have any give either.
I don't know what for.
It wasn't until we got that professional wrestling ring in '86 that things changed that way.
Ace hits him.
We actually got a legitimate ring.
Oh no, he steps on the back of the face.
How'd you manage that?
It was fine. Well, the way it happened was we did that first Anoka Armory show in May of '86, and the ABC newspapers in town ran an article, in the sports paper on the show. And some outfit out in Hutchinson, Minnesota got a hold of this article and realized that we didn't have an actual ring, and they had one, and they wanted to sell it.
Yeah.
So for I think it was $500, and we had about that out of that Armory event. So we had just enough money to get it. And so Steve and I remember Steve Engstrom, Mr. X, he and I went out there and tried out that ring, and it was great, and we bought it right there.
He hits him in the back.
Huh.
Yeah, it was like a 20-foot by 20-foot actual wrestling ring. It was great. Had a spring in the middle and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
From behind.
Dave, you wrestled in that ring, so you remember.
Oh yeah.
Throws him against the rope.
But yeah, that was a good ring.
Yeah, I worked in that ring. Let's see, it would have been
Look at that. Going for the pin.
the Armory, obviously.
No, not quite yet.
Plus we
What was
set it
that,
up
Brooklyn
at my
Park?
Brooklyn Park, and then we did all those TV tapings at my house outside with it
Yep.
too.
Choking it with the ropes.
So,
Trying to break it up.
so here, my plan right now, you guys, is I am trying to sell that I'm getting just worn out. So I want to make it try to look convincing, because like Andrew, like you said, the guys were kind of pissed when you got the belt. Well, if they knew I took a fall, they'd really be pissed.
Right.
So.
The secret's out all these years later.
Well, I wrote about it in the Pro Wrestling Kid Style book too, but
sting your neck for a couple days.
So
But,
Sean,
yeah.
you had mentioned the coverage that the ABC newspaper gave you.
Yep.
That reminds me, what news channel was it? Was it Channel 11? It was one of the big networks that came out. The evening news came out, and I know that.
Yep.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, that was Channel 5. Larry Burnett. which he eventually went to ESPN years later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he was the reporter that came out, and it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, that was big time actually, because I remember going to school the next day and teachers and everything asking me about it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool publicity piece.
What was that? A knee to the
And then,
head.
you know, after you left the show in the late fall there, the Star Tribune did a really nice article on us in the Sunday paper. But the problem is, what's that?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me a bit. I mean, it's such a cool story. I mean, it's nice. What is it? Public interest sort of piece.
Yeah.
You know, anybody could be like, wow, that's so unique and just fun.
But the only problem with that Star Tribune article is our insurance agent also read that article, and he's like called my parents and said, "You stop this or we're going to cancel the policy." So they weren't.
Really?
Yeah, they threatened. And so my mom, I couldn't do it, and that's where we were stuck. And I'm like, had to brainstorm it, and I figured the only chance we got is to get use that boxing ring in Fred Moore, which they already told us no. So I went to the school district and went right over Mr. Daniels' head there in community school, school at Fred Moore. Really pissed him off when I did that, but I got permission.
That was a superintendent or something?
He was like the community school director, Mr. Daniels.
Oh.
He didn't like the idea, but his boss, Mr. Finch was his name, was the District 11 in charge of him.
Okay.
And he didn't see a problem with it.
Huh.
So he said, if the boxing can use it, you guys can too.
Yeah.
So now here's Ace and those camel clutches. Which,
Yeah, that's the go-to right there.
Sorry about that.
um,
He throws him off.
now, this is another question I got. I know that now Matt claims when you remember when you lost the belt to Kelsey?
I don't.
So yeah, that's how you lost the belt. You eventually lost it to him in the garage.
I thought I lost it to you. Was that not a title match?
No,
I
it was.
know that.
If you lost to me, it was non-title.
Yeah. I was disqualified, I thought. Okay, so I lost it to Kid Kelsey. I didn't realize that.
Yep, so there it is. Ace wins the belt right there.
What did I do there? I missed it.
Yeah, it was a pin. You got the pin.
Oh, okay.
And what does he do? He nails me with the belt right away after winning it. But this is what a heel has to do, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, Kelsey's in shock. He can't believe what happened here.
No. What was Matt's deal?
Oh, so what Matt said is that you agreed to him that you were going to lose the belt to him because you're ready to give it up. So, but when I watched the match, or whenever we see that show when we watch it, it doesn't look like you threw the match. Because you were pissed when you lost it.
Okay.
You were tangled up in the ropes for one thing, and they did the 3 count anyway, and you were pissed.
All right. Yeah. No, I don't think that I would have wanted to have just given it up.
Right.
Good look at it. It is.
So we got this is very typical, you guys. In these these Group W cable matches would always end in a skirmish like this usually, even if it wasn't a title match. I remember Matt's dad telling us, you got to get the after match stuff under control.
Oh yeah.
Because this always would happen. We'd have everybody come in usually.
Somebody in there. They need some help.
Everybody wanted to get on camera and
get up there and
get a lick in.
You know, we talked about that professional ring. That's the one thing I wish that you and Merciless and Superfly Rich, some of these guys that never got to experience those armory shows we did, that was a whole other experience. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In front of live crowds and stuff.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing walking out to the ring when it's the guys watching.
Sean likes to call it traitor.
But when you walk out and there's 300-400 people there, It's a whole new ball game.
Trader is.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah, and
Is that what-
our first show was like 350 people at the Armory.
Really?
Yeah, and that was pretty fun.
That's a lot of people.
And we weren't quite ready yet.
How do you feel about that charity match?
But we did it anyway. And they were all into the matches. And and that's another reason I know it was little kids that was our audience, because there were so many little kids there. When I say little kids, I'm talking 7, 8, 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
And when I was done with my match, I had a swarm of these little kids wanting my autograph on our program guides and stuff when I was going back. So that's how I kind of knew who our more of our fan base was.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. They're going to look up to the older kids, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Exactly.
now we'll have an interview with.
You know, even the parents had to respect what we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the kids. I remember parents would just drop you guys off, you know,
Yep.
and then come pick you up. And we always got that orange soda thing or whatever from McDonald's in the garage,
Yeah.
so we had stuff to drink all day.
How many hours do you think that we'd spend at the studio?
Oh, well, in the studio we only had a 3-hour time block, so that was 3 to 4 hours in the Group W. But in the garage we'd do 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah. I remember it'd get so hot in there and be cold outside, but you'd walk in there, you'd just be hot. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, we had that little heater in there, so there's like a heater for when it got cold out. And you know,
look at that
the garage was a transitional period, you know, for the league. Like from the Group W cable days, when we went into the garage, we were able to kind of grow a little bit with the league as far as the matches and everything. Because, like I said, the garage ring was, you could actually hit the ropes.
Yeah.
You know, and it started to you know, develop it. And so, Andrew, you were really part of the league when it was in that developing, going from this to Fred Moore. That was a real transition.
Kelsey doing his
Yeah.
little moon dance.
And
yeah. I don't know why I stopped coming. You know,
I remember you talked to me about it. You just said you just need a break, and you wanted to just change it up and take a break, and you had no hard feelings or anything. You just wanted a break, and we were always hoping you'd come back, but
yeah.
you know, it's so funny. We talking about Tommy Katniss. We tried. Charlie was in the process of trying to get him on the very first show.
Yeah.
Because he was talking to him then, and in fact he was gonna come, and then he couldn't make it. But then Katniss, 3 years later, finally makes his debut at one of our last Armory show in '87. He came on the show.
I didn't know
finally.
that.
Yeah, Tommy Tornado Katniss. But you know, Katniss, he didn't want to just. When he wanted to do it, he was really concerned because he didn't want to just look like a hack.
Yeah.
And so he asked me, because we weren't doing shows at the time, we just had this last Armory card, and he said, hey, can you work with me a little bit so I can at least know what I'm doing? So I spent a couple weeks with him. You know, we had the ring set up at Troy's right off the highway there, and so Tommy was the ring next door. I remember, like, for a week or 2 weeks, I worked with him just to get him up to speed. So, and he did really well on that show. He didn't have a whole lot of offense, but he took all the moves really well. He got like suplexed, the body slammed, and everything.
Oh.
He did
well,
good.
Tommy is one of the most athletic people that I know, so I can imagine him just having no problem with it. I mean, being able to take a blow and, you know, learn how to fall and all that stuff. I can imagine him doing just fine with that.
But his big concern was he just didn't want to look stupid. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. And you know, like, so like back to giving you the belt. You know, I just felt it was a good fit, and I knew it would help make you a heel by letting you beat me. So I thought this is the right thing to do, because I figure, because whoever's the champion's kind of the poster child of the show. So I figured you'd make a good fit for that, you know. So, and boy, did it caused the animosity. Peterson was pissed. Kelsey was mad. They all were.
I'm sure Merciless was.
30 seconds left.
Oh, so let's talk about that. You remember that match with him?
Oh,
That you
he
had?
got so upset. He did not like the role play at all.
Seconds.
He was
Not
mad.
at all.
15.
Yeah, he was
10 seconds.
because he told me privately, he's like, you know, Derek, well, afterwards, well, he told me before, but he told me afterwards, he goes, when Derek, because Derek stripped him of the tag team belt, he jumped to Peterson's side and said, I've got seniority over the belts, which he did. Mike filled in for Heath Peterson.
And he's still hitting him.
So Derek gets the belts, and Mike's like, I didn't even care I lost the tag team belts because I thought it for sure I was going to beat Ace.
He's attacking someone.
You know, Crusher, in this last match,
Okay, go
you were talking about that hideous mask that he wore.
Yeah, that.
You see it again here.
Well, yeah, but it's not Ace wearing it on this one. That was Superfly Rich being the Russian Destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did somebody else wear that then?
Yeah, they had their match. What was it? Just when we were talking there, they
Rich Superfly.
were using the mask.
Wait,
I always liked Superfly Rich. I wish I could get in touch with him. I have no clue where he is these days.
Inside. I asked Sharon McCollum.
Okay. Oh, you see the
Who's this?
man, Kid Kelsey, that
Superfly Rich, Rich Walker.
Okay.
He would have been in your grade.
This terrible incident happened in the ring in Las Vegas.
I believe
And I
Mike
come in
recruited
trying to
him.
help him, and he just turns around and starts slapping me.
Huh.
And then Todd
You know,
Campbell
watching this
offered me
show,
$3. I said,
Crusher,
"No," I took it.
it was kind of weird for me seeing Kelsey wearing all white.
You call me traitor. You're the traitor.
Yeah, you know, he told me something about he wanted to have the Hulk Hogan look. You know, the all white when Hogan would wear white.
Yeah.
Saying that I'm
Yeah.
wrong when
I remember him saying something about that.
is doing it.
Yeah, it was weird watching him wear white.
Well, that was the traitor.
He always had colors, right?
Yeah, and Kelsey was pretty.
Okay, now
I mean, he
we'll
was
go to
always
another
flamboyant.
exciting
Well,
match.
you know, he could do a great interview.
Oh yeah.
He was really into his
Ladies and gentlemen,
character.
welcome back here to NWF action,
And we'd like to
Yeah,
say
we
hello
probably
to
had better
CJ
development.
who's tuned in.
east to west,
What's that?
and northwest to east south.
Oh, thinking about character development. I don't
We're
know,
ready for the
you know,
third
to what
match of
extent
the
I really
day.
put
You just got done
effort
seeing a
into,
wonderful
you know,
interview
figuring
of
out who Ace
Kid
was
Kelsey.
and, you know,
And now
what
we're ready for the
Ace would,
second
you know,
match,
is
our
going to
third
project
match.
in the ring and that sort of thing.
Weighing in at
So
125
I kind of wish that I
pounds
had maybe
from
better
Anoka,
developed
Minnesota,
that character, that
one half of
persona.
the tag team
I think you did in
champions.
the end. You know, those interviews we
One
seen,
of the Wild Boys,
Yeah.
and that
Merciless,
you kind of got your
and
style there. It was kind of a,
Ackerman.
I don't know, it was almost kind of like a Nick Bockwinkel, Ric Flair combination,
Nice
really.
introduction. The belt.
Flat, you know,
online,
cocky.
pressure, and
Um,
sorry to
Right.
say that you had to lose your belt. Just shows what.
That's a cool
just
shirt.
Shows what the just
Yeah,
shows
Mike's-
What the cheapness of Ace can
I think it says Merciless Mike on the back
anyways,
too.
Excuse me,
I
someone.
better introduce the second contender, if you pardon me.
Oh, Mike's. So this is a match with Mike.
The second contender in this third match with a 7-minute time limit, I might add.
This is the third
The
match.
traitor. You
Oh, Superfly Rich.
Rich the traitor.
I won't be talking.
Pink Peterson.
I won't be talking. My
So
tag team partner,
Chuck Lane must have been
my tag team partner could come
in
here
Nebraska
with me,
or something like
go
that
see
at
his
this
wife
time.
and his
Yep.
wife is having a baby.
Because I know our paths did cross eventually. Like,
Yeah,
I-
he would come up and visit, and when he did, he'd make guest appearances on the show.
yeah.
And the funny thing, we just watched
My tag team partner beat you as just a
last
little
week or the
peanut
week
left
before
in
we
my
watched where he made, yeah, because when Charlie was on, we watched his
been
guest appearance,
suspended
and he would always call him a foreigner. We got this foreigner coming in.
Ring the bell.
From Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that was good. That was good. I mean, it was like, with those kind of things, that's what you do. You know, you're just trying to play a bad guy wrestler, right?
Yeah.
And it was always the guy that always got under my skin though was Brian Peterson, because he would get so personal in that ring, especially in the interviews and stuff. He'd start talking about you and getting under your skin, and there'd be so many times I just wanted to just rip his head off.
Yeah.
I'd get so mad. Mike
And that
too.
wasn't an easy feat. I mean, to snarl with Brian, he was a big, strong guy.
He was. He was. And when he got a chair, man, he hit you hard with that chair.
Favorite move.
Ended up giving Mike a big goose egg once with that steel chair when he hit him with it.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Wrong one. No, I didn't.
In fact, it got to the point where I think it was after that we said no more chairs or you're automatically disqualified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty boy, right?
Yeah, Pretty Boy
Peterson.
Peterson or Pile Driver Peterson. He went by both.
Oh, tell him to get it up. We can't see Mike. Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
But Mike, yeah, he was so convinced he was going to beat you, and then you kept grabbing the ropes to break that pinfall. In this ring, it was easy to do because it was more of a rectangle.
Right.
So you could get to the ropes pretty easily.
Yes. I have to bring out.
After high school, I went into the Navy, and
the best in the NWF,
we'd
the airplanes.
spend a lot of time out at sea, and guys are guys, and they call it grab assing, but it's just wrestling, right? So,
Right.
you'd walk past somebody, and they, you'd start tangling with them, and one of my kind of a superior of ours, he was like huge and
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't see action
like
better than this in a TWF.
almost like Lurch-like, just big hands and big long arms and everything like this, big head. And one of my buddies, he was kind of built like me, but maybe a little smaller. And he'd always, come up to the guy, and he'd just get out of his hold, and he'd say, "You're wiry, you're wiry." And I think about that, and that's kind of maybe, that's maybe the way I operated. Maybe I was a little wiry. I could slip out of things a little bit, and
Speed and agility. Well, but I'm gonna comment on that in a second here, but I want to just before I forget, CJ Hawk 85, great to see you. He says that's up. How's everyone doing tonight? It's good to see you, CJ. CJ's tuned in before, so he's watching. Say hello to him. Let me tell you about the thing with these. Okay, so this whole era for you, Andrew, was different than anybody else because of these shoot matches, and not determining who's going to win the belt. If it was a title match, it was going to be a shoot. And I can't think of anybody, pound for pound, that was in the NWF that would have been tougher than Andrew Karlsen. I mean, I'm not talking like bodybuilder tough. I mean, mentally tough, physically tough, speed, agility, and all of that, because to survive these matches, in some cases, and win them, it was not easy to do it for most of the year, from February all the way to September, I think. So
I know that I'd walk out of there pretty well exhausted.
Now he goes for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
And I didn't want to lose either, so...
That is some form of the Cobra.
Now, what happened, so you lost the belt to Kelsey, and then what happened when you left then was Matt had a few matches and defended the title and held onto the belt. Well, then it became my turn. And even though Matt and I were still on the same side and everything, but I told Matt, I know we're friends, but when the bell rings, I'm coming for this belt, and I just want you to know. And he's like, I understand. I'm gonna try to keep it. And I said, okay, just so we're clear. And so we have our match, and we're courteous in the beginning, just like anything. We're not trying right away. But then all of a sudden, I went to do a drop kick, and he moved out of the way, and he did that Kelsey strut. And I'm looking up, and I'm like, okay, it's go time. And then that match just went. It turned ugly, man. They were. It got vicious. Yeah, it was intense, and my game plan was I'm going to get Matt in the middle of the ring. I'm going to put leg scissors on him. I'm going to squeeze as hard as I can. Matt does not like pain. I figured he'd give.
Yeah.
And I was squeezing so hard, Andrew, my legs hurt.
Okay.
And he wouldn't give up. He just kept saying, never, never. He's yelling at the top of his lungs. And then we're throwing punches. It's getting wild. And finally, I get him more out enough to where I pin him. And then Matt did not talk to me for about a month and a half after that match. He wouldn't take my calls.
No.
He was, and I,
He's gonna win.
on the show in front of everybody, in front of, I'm sure people at school gave him crap over it. I mean, yeah, it had to be kind of embarrassing for him.
He's mad.
You know,
Matt was a competitor at all levels with everything that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was softball, hockey, you know, he was. He was a fighter, a competitor.
I felt horrible because, like, yeah, I wanted the belt, but then I realized how this all went. And I'm like, I just don't feel right over this. And I'm like, you know what? This is it. We're not doing shoot matches. We're predetermining everything. We're not going to do it this way anymore. But funny enough, though, Matt. So what Matt did then, and this is total Matt Kelsey. So I think Brian Balaban was interviewing me on our Monday Night Madness show. It was my first interview with the belt, and it had been a month and a half or so. And Matt came out and interrupted the whole interview. And he goes, I just want to shake your hand and congratulate you on winning the belt, and I wish you luck going forward. And that's what he did, you know.
Okay.
And then we were back to friends again, but...
Okay, put it behind him.
Yeah. But man, but you know what? At the time, part of our friendship kind of got hindered there just from that match. And that's where I figured, I don't want to do it like this. This isn't... Friendships are getting... you know, altered.
Friendships are being hurt.
Yeah, and we're not doing it the way we should be. You know, they don't do shoot title matches in the real deal. So,
did they lose the intensity? Any of the?
Oh no, because what happened is, as we got into '86 and we got that regular ring and stuff, the whole wrestling evolved into more of what you see on TV.
Yeah.
So it became more, all the moves, you know, got more, we just got more advanced. And so the matches got more advanced, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, like, body slams, suplexes were pretty common.
Really?
And, yeah, with that ring.
How do you feel about the NWF?
Yeah, it was pretty, you know, it just evolved, you know.
Did anybody ever get, like, seriously injured? Everybody got injured, but I mean, like, seriously, because I mean, it's. I mean, even when I was involved, I know that we did some things that, you know, could have gone sideways.
The only injury that happened that was kind of I don't know if you remember Peter Wynn in school. I think he was in your grade.
No.
He was Vietnamese. He played a character in our show called the Tokyo Terror. So he was a Japanese wrestler, but he was really Vietnamese. And me, out of all people, in that Fred Moore ring that Dave's talking about, I gave him a forward pile driver, and Peter got confused. He thought I was going back, I was going forward, and his head slipped out, and I was like a human pogo stick right on that ring.
Whoa.
And he just was feeling his neck, and the match kind of stopped, and all the wrestlers rushed in like they're doctors, and it was scary. But Peter was okay. It was kind of like just a stinger, but his dad wasn't okay. He said, "Peter, you're done doing this."
Yeah.
That was too close of a call. We're not going to do this no more. So Peter is such a nice kid too. He's God. He'd give you the shirt off his back. I think it just killed him that he couldn't do it anymore. Fun character too, this Tokyo Terror. But and he was really athletic kid. I don't know. I remember I ran into Peter years later at the Super Bowl there in Ramsey, and I asked him. I said, "How's your neck?" And he's like, "It still kind of bothers me." And this was 3 years later. And Peter's not the kind of guy who's going to lie about it. So if it was bothering him, it was bothering him. Trouble is, Peter Wynn, Andrew, there's 100 of them. I can't find them anymore today.
Oh.
It's just too common of a name.
Could be anywhere.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If they're gonna go take it all out.
So that was the only close. And then I broke my finger on a power slam with doing against Mr. X in a match at Brooklyn Park. That hurt like a son of a gun. But yeah, when you break your finger, there's not a whole lot they can do.
Did you finish the match?
Yeah, I finished the match, but you can tell I broke my finger. Yeah. I'm hurting, but yeah. Now we're kind of, think about it though, all the matches that you were involved with in that era and everything else we did, not really I can't think of any other injuries.
Against the Super D's.
That's surprising.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, we weren't gentle.
All three of them are
No.
new here.
And the Super D's, you know, when I had Troy Dazowski on a couple months ago, those guys, remember how they got thrown out of the ring and they would just fly out of the ring and land on the concrete? Gosh.
Yeah.
They were just fearless.
Right.
Pardon me there.
Matter of fact, they might probably do that in this show even. I mean, that was their thing in the beginning, just getting thrown out of the ring.
Rich Walker out there.
They were both athletic.
Yeah. You know, Troy, when Troy was on, we were talking and I said, you know, it's funny we never did Super D against Super D. You know, we never did that.
Oh.
And he goes, I was thinking that too, because Todd and I, he goes, we had those matches all the time, just not on the show.
Yeah.
Because when you've got a twin brother, you best friends one minute, your enemies the next.
Yep.
Trying to settle everything out there, but
Remember your brother Dean Karlsen, Mean Dean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was on the show for a while as well.
Crusher trying to.
Oh yeah, this is me and Matt. So this was Matt's idea. He wanted to do this charity match. This is supposed to be a charity match.
You could bust somebody's arm by doing that.
So he wanted. Yeah, it was supposed to be like a charity match, Crusher against Kid Kelsey. And
trying to roll him over at the pin.
Is this a title match?
No, because you got the belt.
Crusher getting.
Oh, okay.
This is Crusher trying to work his way back up the ranks.
Okay,
Yeah. But no, what happened is, I know that on the next show when Charlie made his appearance, I did win the belt back, but we reversed it and gave it back to Ace because Lane interfered in the match. Charlie was there as a guest, and he came in and hit you with I think it was the belt
Up on the top rope.
and stuff, so we reversed it back.
Oh, what's...
And besides, I didn't want to win it back either. You just won it, and I didn't really want it back just like that. So that's what happened, like with Campa. You know, Campa asked me in '84 if he could win the belt, and I said, all right. It was just for 2 or 3 shows. I said, okay. So I let him have it, but I'd always win it back. So I figured when Ace got it, I wanted him to have the belt for a much longer run than just 2 or 3 shows. You know.
Yeah, a little longevity.
Crusher talking it over with Kelsey.
It's kind of funny, that news article that KSTP you were talking about.
Yeah.
When they interviewed you on that, they said, "Which champ are you?" And you go heavyweight, and you go. And Larry Renette goes, "You are the heavyweight champ." He goes, "How much do you weigh?" And you go, 85. He's like, "Well, that's a heavyweight for this group, isn't it?"
My gym teacher that following day, he was busting my balls about that.
Was he?
I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was just getting some good attention, but in retrospect, he was definitely busting my chops. Heavyweight champ, huh? Karlsen? That's right.
Well, it's kind of funny when we went. We eventually did a show at Sandburg Middle School in '86 in the fall. We did it in the back gym. Mrs. Kiputh arranged it, and for a community school thing, and we had a live audience of kids that came from the school to see it, and I remember when I was in there doing my match, I could see both gym teachers watching the whole dang thing in the back, you know. I forget the guy's name. Remember the one was a little shorter with the mustache, kind of stockier? Johnson, yeah. He was there, and then the other, I forget the other guy's name.
Wirtz? Was it Mr. Wirtz? Tall guy?
I can't, yeah, he's taller.
I think he was a linebacker like practice squad linebacker for the Chicago Bears.
Oh, really?
And then couldn't make a living at that and took the next probably worst thing or whatever, and he didn't enjoy being a gym teacher from what I could tell.
Oh, okay. How do you feel about being on?
Yeah, it was fascinating talking to Troy Dazowski a few months ago about his soccer career and everything. What they all went through with that. It was crazy.
because I'm sick
You know, the professional soccer players and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was supposed to be
Well, how
Todd
long
and
did you
Troy,
play
but
professionally?
to go on?
oh, he said like 12 years, wasn't it, Dave?
Really?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And they played in all 3 leagues. There's like 3 leagues.
Match in the NWF.
How old are they here?
They were 9 years old here.
First of all,
They had turned 10 in '86.
from
And they got so good. Like, when we did our first Armory event, they got the biggest applause of the night. They got the biggest pop out of any of us.
And now Pink Peterson's main man.
The fans loved these guys when we did those live shows.
Little league wrestlers.
They ended up doing the double drop kick, and they got really good with it.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I told Troy, I said, man, Troy, if we wouldn't have got rid of our lightweight division in '87, I said, I just imagine where you two would have went if you would have grew into it like the rest of us.
Yeah.
You know?
And let's go down the ringside with Ace.
But I was always
No,
fighting them
it's
with
the Larry.
what's that?
I said that'd be all thanks to Larry.
Here we are, folks.
Yeah, Luscious Larry ended up
And
getting
you
rid
see
of
Rough Ryan, the
our
Super
lightweights.
D's
And
getting
he didn't want him around.
match.
I don't think I've seen the 2-on-1 here
What?
before.
Yeah, handicap match. It's Ryan against the Super D's.
As a ref, Kelsey.
And that's you commentating,
Okay,
Andrew.
There the bell is.
Ah, all right.
Oh, okay. Well,
Can't even recognize the voice.
You saw.
Yeah.
Oh, there you see him sitting by ringside, thinking he can win the belt. Well, I have it sitting right beside me, right here. Can you hear it? Oh, yeah, I have
You're
it.
gloating already with that world title.
Ooh. There.
I always liked it when the refs tucked their shirt in. I've said that all the time, Dave, but it just looks so much more professional.
It does.
Oh,
It does.
right into Crusher's knee. There Rough Ryan is.
Yeah, these Group W shows were,
And there's a tag.
you know, then we had the microphone at the top lowered down just like they do in the boxing matches and stuff.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
he comes out, oh, and there's a super fly by Rough Ryan.
You know, in all the shows that we watched,
He goes out.
Crusher, I've never seen anybody just grab it down and use it as an object.
Kelsey wearing
You never seen anybody what?
his lucky hat right there.
During the match, pull it down and use it as an object.
No, nobody used it as a foreign object now that you mention it. 'Cause that thing would hurt. That thing was a solid mic. If you got hit with that, you're gonna get a lump.
They come in.
So did you break
Oh, and he
that
gets him in a
ring down
headlock
every
position.
week?
This one?
Yeah.
Well, it was the stage was in like 4 sections. That was easy to put together, and then we had our ropes in the storage room there, and we just bring them up. We just bolt them to the corners, and it's pretty much ready to go.
So the stage stayed.
As he tags
Yeah, the
out,
stage is always there.
Yeah.
And there's a kick, and there's a tag there. Folks.
I remember the guy who owns this stage. I asked him. I said, "Is it okay if we put our 4 posts on this and make it the ring?" He goes, "Yeah, that's fine." So then we had to drill holes in the stage, you know, to put like U-bolts around the posts and then bolt them. You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
When he seen us doing that, he goes, "Well, I didn't know you were going to be drilling holes in it." And he's like all bent out of shape. And I was about to say, "Dude, it's all done. The crying room's 2 doors down. It's too late now."
Rough Ryan.
Yeah, you can't glue those things on. I mean, it's,
Right.
And he kicks out.
I don't know what you would have expected.
And then Scott Tronson, the guy who was always on our case at this cable company, he decides to get rid of this stage. And when he did that, that's when we had to go to the garage because we had nowhere else to go. The thing with the garage is it was better for us because we were we had complete control, and the ring was a little bit better, but the production value in the studio was much better here. You know, the 2 cameras, a control room. And
Was
all
there
that.
only one camera in the garage?
Yeah, we only had a stationary camera for that stuff.
Oh, and he throws him. He tries
And then
to
did you
throw
go
him
to
on
the?
ring. Does not
Where
succeed.
did you own that or?
Ryan throwing
No. You can, when you got, you know, certified to use all the equipment, you can check the cameras out from the cable company.
Okay.
So that's what we did.
It looks like he was trying
Oh,
to
there's the dive.
the Irish whip
Yep.
him, but he gets thrown out of the ring.
That's
It's
gutsy.
just, It was just so funny seeing them get thrown out of the ring, and they didn't care. They didn't care if they got hurt.
Pop right back up.
And Rough Ryan wants more.
They were just fearless when it came to. It was no surprise they got really
He
good.
throws him into the turnbuckle.
Like in '86 when we started doing the armories and stuff.
Oh, and it's the pile driver. He does succeed.
Yeah, the armory show came about because
That was a mighty quick call by one of the refs.
you probably, the way that happened was me and Matt Kelsey and a kid by the name of Jason Klassen, who was in the show, were walking downtown, and we walked by the armory, and I'm like,
Chest out.
guys, what about I said, what, maybe we could do a show here. And Matt thought I was off my rocker about taking our show into the armory.
Guys last week.
And Jason's like, no, we are not ready for this. I said, Jason, guys, we're gonna go in and just talk to him and see. And I personally talked to the drill sergeant there, and he treated me like anybody else. He said, yep, this is what it takes. This is what you got to do. This is what it is. This is how much it costs. Gave us a tour, and I'm like, sounds good. Next thing you know, I said, we're gonna do it.
And I don't think he really is.
Yeah.
So did you have to rent the space out then?
Yeah, it costs about $300 to $400, I think, somewhere in that range to rent it. Which we didn't have a dime.
Yeah.
So what I did is I went around town. I figured, okay, let's get sponsors. That'll help pay for it, and then let's sell tickets in advance. And that's what paid for the armory initially.
Okay.
The car dealerships, the banks, they pretty much sponsored us.
Another dive.
And he lays there. Crusher laughing at that.
And Crusher laughing at.
It was so funny to see him get thrown out of the ring like that. It really was.
And there the bell is, folks.
These kids were tough, these Super Ds.
You heard it,
Yeah.
folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, your verdict of the match.
Trying to take Matt down. That's not going to happen.
Sorry about that. Your verdict
I
of the
remember when I
match.
stayed over at Matt's house one summer.
Get these guys
Todd and
out
Troy
here.
lived across the street,
Your winner,
Yep.
and they just
no winner.
come running across, wrestling the whole way in the yard. Him and Todd and Troy just wearing shorts, completely shirtless, no shoes.
Yeah.
Folks, here is an interview with the new NWF champion,
Oh, here comes Ace.
Ace.
Okay, let's see what we got to
How
say.
do you feel to be the new champion?
I told you before the show today that I was gonna take it over, and of course I did. You saw it right here. I knew that I'd take it, and you saw the last show that I almost had him. I had him beat, but
Except that Peterson here, who was tied to myself, weaseled out of his rope, came out here and interfered. That's why you didn't win, my boy.
no, I don't think so. That was a pretty clear thing. He was not there. You can watch the show over again.
Okay, well, congratulations, you weasel.
What do you say, you weasel?
Yeah.
Let you in on some of the latest news.
Sean,
First of all, Jackknife Jacob no longer.
Yeah, we got rid of Rob Jacob. I wish I would have. That's one of my biggest regrets, is getting rid of Rob, Jackknife Jacob. You probably never seen him because I think we got rid of him before he joined, but
But he said, I said
he
that
was
I
so
fired
good.
him.
So he was
Jackknife, you're a weasel.
exclusively
You
the
met little
announcer?
scum I have the chance to
Well,
say.
he was the announcer, and then he was
You
Jackknife
weasel, you
Jacob,
couldn't-
the rest
Yeah,
of the two.
okay.
He did both.
So you went out.
He was
Jackknife, I hope
good
you
at
get a tube
both of
right
them,
now
though.
because you're a
Yeah.
weasel. I want
Charismatic
to say
and
that.
Yeah.
To
articulate.
confirm you on the news, I'd like to welcome LA.
You know, when you're
New
15 or
York,
16 years old, you think you know
Cleveland,
everything.
Omaha.
You don't.
For Christ's sakes, the whole
You know,
United
you look
States.
back at later and you realize you
Welcome
made
to
a lot of
the
mistakes.
NWF Major
Sure.
League of the
Well,
kids professional wrestling.
Yeah,
We've all
from, in
like
retrospect,
to mention,
through your
next
adult
show, you'll
lens,
be seeing
pretty
Luxury
easy to
Lane.
see, but boy,
He's coming up
you
from
really,
Nebraska. He's gonna come up for a show
you know,
next
you
week,
took
Saturday.
and
we'll
just
hope to
cleared
see
some
ya.
hurdles that, I mean,
Happy, like
are
to welcome everybody.
pretty,
Hope to have a
way
happy
impressive.
President's Day.
just,
And
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, I mean, everybody that comes on echoes that, Andrew, and I appreciate hearing it.
We're ready for the next
But, you know, You know the reason is because
Okay, I just got
Charlie, when he moved away, he said, "Promise me you'll keep doing the show." Because I wanted to just stop the show when Charlie moved.
You should.
Like,
Yeah.
what's the point now?
Entering the
Because it was our brainchild, right?
Okay.
Show.
Yeah.
Entering the arena.
And he's like, "Promise me you'll
From
keep
no
doing
doubt,
it."
Minnesota,
So I just tried to
Ramsey,
keep it going,
whatever,
and then
Ace.
one thing led to another. Here you come again.
The new-
See, like you're right. Like you'd be
Unfortunately,
wrestling
he's the champion.
sometimes 4 or 5 times in a show.
Crush-head peanut pudding.
Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing in the ring?
I'm his manager.
Okay.
Pete Peterson's his manager.
Well, Peterson ain't.
Or should I say, Pee-wee
What's
Peterson.
Super D?
Let me introduce.
What's one of the Super Ds doing in there?
I've already introduced the match. I'm gonna introduce the match. Peter.
I wonder who you're
Peterson.
going against here.
That's your managers. Both of your managers.
First title defense, and I plan to take it.
Oh, so this is a title. You said it's your first title
Look at
defense.
that.
So maybe this is your first title
Okay,
defense.
No, we can't
Okay.
we can't be biased out here in the ring. So, you hear his music, Eye of the Tiger, enter in the arena.
So it's gonna be
USA
against
Champion.
Kelsey.
Oh, jeez.
What do you got to say?
That belt is good as out of here.
Oh,
Sorry about that, guys.
That belt's gonna be mine.
Down the
Oh.
ringside with Merciless Mike.
I remember Matt, man. He was a sweater. I was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
got to tangle with this sweater.
Hello, folks. We're back here
You know the
with me.
it didn't so
is
much,
one of
not so much
these,
when you were around, but in
my
'86,
First name here.
you know, because there came a point where Matt and I had almost every
Hey,
belt in the
Todd.
league.
Here
You know,
are
we had the tag
announcing.
belts. He had the world title. I had the national title, and the
Okay,
guys just
This should be.
didn't like it. And they're not gonna get mad at me because I'm running the show, but they took it out on
Ace's
Matt.
first title defense.
So
Oh.
a lot of times Matt would come out for his match, and there our studio audience is the other wrestlers, and they just boo him.
Situation, Todd.
Yeah.
Well,
And
this should be a good match.
Matt hated that. And I remember even the announcers like, you know, despite his preference in country, he's not the most popular among our ringside fans.
Kid, you
And that just, and Matt goes, "Can I please just be a heel?" He wanted to be a heel so bad.
Peterson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this-
finally he does become a heel. Then he eventually goes to the dark side, and then he was happy.
Crusher.
Did he change his name?
Crusher put a good
Yeah, he
fight
went
against
from Kid
Ace.
USA Kelsey to Kid Hot Stuff Kelsey.
Yeah, that's a heel name.
Yeah.
To his true potential when he lost that match.
Well, you know, Sean, you talk about holding all the belts. I've got all the belts right here.
Ace was
Yeah.
pretty happy that he won that match.
That's for sure. Dave's got all the NWF belts too. He got
Rightfully
he.
should be. 6 minutes left in the match.
It's been fun replicating those belts because we had a lot of other belts, Ace, after you left,
The
that were
NWF.
pretty cool belts, and so we're getting them all replicated again.
I don't know, we could say
And
champion of the
Steve
world.
made most of these.
Champion of kids professional wrestling.
One of the
Yeah.
latest
Now
ones.
back to this match.
That's the world tag titles that we had in '86.
Very nice.
And Steve Engstrom, remember that adult that joined that really shouldn't have?
Yeah.
He made all those belts. You know, a lot of people, it's kind of weird with Steve because a lot of people think, well, what's he doing with a kids wrestling show?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and you know this, Ace, I mean, you had matches with him. He was not like a pedophile or anything like that. Because believe me, I was so homophobic back then. My radar would have went off right away if Steve was, you know, in there for weird reasons. I would have picked up on that so fast.
Kind of surprised.
But Steve was just too small to be in the wrestling, in the real wrestling. He just wanted to be a part of what we were doing. He was like a teenager
Yeah.
at heart. You know, he just wanted to be a part of it.
Okay, I didn't know him at all. I wouldn't have been able to say.
Yeah.
As they say, twins stick together.
But he was, Steve contributed quite a bit, though. He made the ring better. He was really handy with that. He made those good belts. He was really good. He was our best person at taking the bumps, you know, back when we got that ring. God, Steve was good at that. And I learned a lot from him in the ring.
You know,
What's that?
Crusher, to be honest, he really wasn't that much bigger than you as an adult.
Right, Steve. He was just small. He was a smaller, kind of a small, too small to make it in the real wrestling, you know, the real leagues. But
Once Matt gets working. Seems like every match Matt is
so
winning.
Matt's trying to win this match. You can tell that much.
Yeah, his headlocks definitely hurt.
And I'm reffing.
Let's see here.
I can get a foot on that rope from anywhere in the ring.
You could. I don't think there's any way Mike could have pinned you, even if he wanted to.
Yeah.
As hard as he could try.
I feel that I shouldn't be
In that
saying this,
ring.
but I feel that Ace will win because I know that he will not want to lose that belt at all. So he should be fighting better than that.
Looks like Kelsey's was gonna go for a figure 4 there.
But Matt's has
Or he's
the
trying to.
advantage so far.
Yeah, Matt's been putting up a good fight. That would be amazing if.
Yeah, Brian would
Matt
do
won
that
this
figure
got
4, and he'd
belt.
really reef on it.
I don't think
sure.
we've ever had that happen. Let's see here. Ace now. Oh, it's the pin. 2 count. His shoulders up on this side.
They're both in the
The
ropes.
ref not seeing.
Yeah.
He's on the ropes.
Yeah, you're right, Ace. It was cool. You know, all that equipment. You know, and it was fairly new. The cable was, so it almost had that like new car smell. Everything was like new equipment and technical. You know, all that technology for us at that time.
Oh.
Rich Superfly fighting with the
Yeah, I had never been able
side of the
to
ring.
put my hands on anything like that before. And
Yeah.
then I'm looking through the lens of a camera and zooming in, zooming out, you know, I'm panning and doing all those things, and
Okay.
it was really,
Ooh, he was gonna
really
try to
special.
bulldog him there, I think.
Well, there were some guys that, like Andy Youngquist, for example.
It looks like
He did the wrestling because I wanted him to, but he was much more
not really.
interested in running the camera and doing the technical stuff and the CG, and he was all, you know, that was what he really liked.
okay.
So there's that reverse full Nelson
He's got his foot on the ropes,
that you'd like to use a lot. You almost had Matt with that.
rightfully.
Yeah, I don't know where that
You-
was.
Now,
You were not interested in, you just got that belt and you're probably thinking, I am not losing this to this guy
No.
right away.
Yeah.
Crusher.
You know, Ace, I do have to comment on something here.
I don't know. Do you think he's?
Crusher always talks about
Or do
how.
you think he's giving Matt?
I have to mention here, Crusher always says how professional it looks when the referee has their shirt tucked in.
And
Yeah.
I'm not tucking it in.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I had those parachute pants on. It was really hard to
And the
tuck
Oh, I got
anything
the
in.
pin and he had his hand on the rope.
NWF champion,
I just
Ace winner.
see. I didn't want you to lose the belt either, so I was
No,
like,
yeah.
I'm reffing, so I'm just. There's a 3 count.
Right.
1 minute
You
remaining.
can't go backwards. Hand is in the air.
Ace won the match.
More mayhem after the match. Kelsey runs
Yeah.
off with the
Okay,
belt.
there you have the show. He
Well, Kelsey was mad because he was in the ropes. He had a reason to be, but
right
you quickly forget. He's over it already.
back.
And
Yeah,
he leaves
people-
Crusher high and dry in the ring.
Folks,
I think this is the last match of this
this
show,
should
I
be
do
a
believe.
great match. Now introducing the champion.
And again,
of NWF
gosh, Ace, you wrestled in this particular show a lot.
Wow. Yeah, that's
You had to
3
be
in a row
exhausted.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Who have I got this time?
I don't know if you're right.
It's a tag
the
team
owner of
match.
that belt, but
Okay.
here's your partner. How do you think you'll? I don't know. How long do you
You know,
Ace
Troy
and
doesn't-
Superfly versus Team USA.
Trey Dazowski also made a good point. Well, actually, a lot of the guys say this is that it's, you know, you do things like this back in the day and
give so much.
nobody captures it, and so all you'd have is just your memories, right?
Yeah.
And we're fortunate that we still have all the video footage, you know.
Very true. They're relics that you can actually just go back and, I mean, if I forget so much, it's just like really cool to be like, damn, that was some cool shit like that we were a part of. Like I didn't even remember.
Right. And I still think, Andrew, that you made a good champion for the show. I really do. It was a good image and a good look. And I know you're
Thank you.
saying that you're not sure, kind of trying to find your character and everything, but
Yeah.
I think you found your character, you know, as you got going with it. And it was, look, I seen it. That's why, you know, we had a match the show before this, and I'm like, he's going to be our champion. I could see
Yeah.
it then. because I needed to change it up. I wanted there to be more. I didn't want to be the champion. I was that champion all the time in '84, and I just wanted to have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
Was Kelsey the only one who had walk-up music?
Okay, welcome back.
You mean going out to the ring?
This
Yeah.
should be a very
Oh, I did too. It was actually my music. Kelsey used it because he's my partner.
Oh, okay.
We did. I'm trying to think. There's others eventually got music too, though. I mean, in these days there wasn't too many people. I know Mike came out to Wild Boys, I think, by Duran Duran.
Okay.
Did you have a boombox or something? I don't remember.
No, it was all in the studio, in the control room, and it would go over. It would get put right into the show.
Oh, okay.
Champion
Yeah.
of the world in kids professional wrestling.
Oh, this is a so this is a Texas Tornado tag match. That's why we're all in there.
This should be not
Oh, okay.
And Mike doesn't even realize it.
stopped.
He's like, this should be not allowed. This is all. He didn't realize that this is how we were doing a Texas Tornado.
Oh, they're just uncontrollable. They must be stopped.
They must be stopped. But Mike didn't realize that we were doing a Texas Tornado. That's where everybody's in the ring at once.
Kid Kelsey.
And then one pin, then the match is over.
Yep.
These
Yeah.
kind of matches are the ones we could do without. They're all 4 people.
Tell him I had to get him off me.
Soon the ref will even get into this, probably.
It is. Crusher's infringing on your gimmick there.
Oh,
With
yeah,
the
he's
rope.
trying to. Yeah.
I myself.
Gotta use the ropes when you can.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily a shoot, though, because there's no titles involved here. We might have this predetermined.
Some law and order in here.
But I know what the shoots were like myself, because, when Kelsey and I had the tag belts, those were shoots, too. And,
After Kelsey.
yeah, especially going against the ring. That's why I know Chuck would have been tough, because I went against him, too. When they were the Ring Warriors, him and his partner. And they were...
Ooh, Ace missed with the clothesline.
They
on
were
Kelsey.
tough.
Ace going down. There you can see Crusher. Superfly. Superfly not being stopped.
I'd be kind of worried about
Right
this
to the
ref
hand of
being
Crusher.
biased.
Yeah, I know.
Into the midsection.
Ryan?
Oh, this is out of control. Oh, is Kelsey pinned him? No.
Yeah, Ryan usually played it pretty fair. He didn't...
Okay,
Surprisingly, I had a lot of matches with Ref Ryan
Kelsey throwing Ace
throughout
on
the
top.
show. In the garage and Fred
Kelsey
Moore.
taking over, it looks like.
Because Ryan was on that edge of being a heavyweight. He
Kelsey
was,
and Superfly battle.
especially when he grew into it in '86.
He probably got to be pretty big.
Just pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did he have Matt's
He goes down.
size?
Pressure.
No, he wasn't like heavy. Like Matt was a little bit heavier. Matt actually kind of grew out of this. Like in '87 and '88, Matt got more trimmed out.
Yeah.
But Ryan, I don't ever remember getting. The kid I was telling Troy, the one that wanted to be on our show like crazy, but his dad said you're just too young, is Wade Kelsey.
Oh.
Wade wanted to be on it so bad, and he was like, when I'd stay over at Matt's house, he was like a little Tasmanian devil. That kid.
Right. Oh yeah.
He was just wild. And I'm thinking, my God, when he does come on the show, he's gonna be great.
Yeah.
612 for those of you nationally. Dial 612.
And remember the Bunis brothers? You brought them in. Todd and Troy
Absolutely.
Bunis.
Yeah. Right.
They were good characters.
Yeah. I was fishing with them last weekend.
Oh, really? So you're still in touch with them?
Yeah, I am.
That's cool. It's Todd and Troy Bunis, right? Or no, Brian.
Yes, Troy and Brian.
Troy and Brian, yeah.
Yeah.
Rich down now.
And I think you brought in Chad Reinholtz, Rock and Roll Reinholtz, he went by?
Was that Jason Reinholtz or?
I think it was Chad Reinholtz, wasn't it?
I don't know a Chad. I know Jared and Jason and Justin.
Okay, well, maybe it was Jason. Then there was Chad Johnson you brought on, Jumpin' Johnson.
I didn't bring him on.
I thought you brought him on, because he was
Crusher.
He would always talk about you when he's commentating. He always call you Karlsen. That Karlsen kid.
Oh,
Kelsey, Mr. USA. No, stay in here. Rich being choked there. Now Kelsey taking on to the ace. Choking the ace. Crusher now.
Yeah, this match is like just.
ooh.
Crusher's hand was
Well, actually, look like a
needs to turn back up.
it did look like it. I don't remember we getting hurt in Fred Moore or in Group W though.
Ace is still being choked.
Except when Brian hit me with the chairs. Them chair shots with Brian were rough.
Superfly.
Yeah, he didn't go easy.
No.
Ooh, a body slam by the Crusher to the Superfly. The elbow smash. Oh,
Kelsey got away at my elbow.
Superfly.
Slight miscue.
Ooh. Ooh. The full Nelson applied on the ace. Oh, and Crusher and Kelsey threw ace and Superfly together and again. Oh. Well,
Ryan doesn't know what to do for reffing here. He doesn't know.
No.
It's almost like there's no rules.
Ooh. It didn't work. Crusher down.
It's a pretty tight ring for 4 guys.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
there the ace and Superfly turned it around. Crusher and Kelsey colliding. Oh, Crusher body slammed. Oh,
That one probably didn't feel very good either.
No, it always. Anytime you got slammed on this ring in any way, shape, or form, you felt
Ace
it.
taking over on
Yeah.
Kelsey now. Crusher down.
And Kelsey,
Yes.
On Crusher, he be pinned.
he
Oh, Crusher, very.
like I remember in one interview you said something about you were talking about Matt and you were saying something like, "What's he gonna do if he gets me? Probably go cry like he always does."
Grabbing Superfly. Crusher's wailing away on Superfly now as Ace is hitting Crusher. Oh, Crusher down. Kelsey
Yeah, back in the 80s, it was a completely different era than it is now.
Yeah,
No
like
doubt.
there's no way I don't think parents would let their kids do anything like this
No,
nowadays.
no. They'd take all the fun out of it if they did. My kid needs to be the champ, and why does he have to lose? And you know, everybody is supposed to be the best. And
Rich in the corner there.
I remember when I wrote my book, I did a interview with a lot of different radio stations, and one was in Phoenix, and they did this Kids in Sports radio network, and they were fascinated that we ran the show, like we ran it. And I explained to him that the way the show ended was because adults kind of got involved and took it over for themselves. And he's like, "Oh, I wish we could get that replayed and have that aired over and over, Sean." He goes, because his idea was that adults shouldn't be involved in sports as much as they are. They should let the kids have more ownership of it. You know,
Okay.
that was his thinking.
Now Rich
But,
wailing away on the Crusher.
I mean, I don't know. I remember there being kids wanting to do, when I wrote my book, I'd have kids ask me how to do it and everything. And I get a lot of kids ask me, "Can you start it up again?" I'm like, "No, I'm not starting it up again." But I said, if you, and I try to tell them what to do to get started, but kids just don't, I don't know if they have, you got to have the drive to really do it.
Yeah.
Is the winner of this
No,
match
I
against
don't like to be
champion
such a critic of,
Ace?
you know, certain generations, but it's a concern. I feel like with where our youth are at today, it just
Yeah.
needs to be right on a plate for them, and it's a head scratcher.
They're not into so much physical stuff anymore. They're more into the technological stuff.
I was gonna say, Andrew, did you, in all those title matches that you had that kind of got pretty rough, did you ever have any hard feelings with anybody afterwards or anything like that come about of it?
No. No.
No?
No, I don't. I remember just always having a good time. It was always just so much fun.
Yeah, it was. That was the whole point, you know. If it wasn't fun, what was the point?
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
is he happy now? Superfly trying to bang.
I don't know what kind of a move that was that he ended it there with the knee to the back. Just
This is just.
Yeah, I know. I didn't. Well, it is over. I think this is just one of those mayhems.
I think I submitted.
There's that. So that's the first belt, Andrew. That you had.
TWA.
Ace
Yep.
proud of himself with that belt.
I mean, we changed the name. The reason we changed the name to National Wrestling Federation, and we did that on your second show, was because I was sending the tapes out all around the country. So we were in 22 states at that point.
Oh.
So I figured let's be the NWF since we're national, you know?
Yeah.
So not to every single suburb, but the major cities in 22
Yeah.
states. Yeah.
Not to mention the airline.
Yeah, Trans World Airlines. They didn't like us using their names, their initials.
Yeah.
You know that they contacted the cable company and asked us to change it, right?
No.
Yeah, that happened too.
Really?
So that's why we were the TWF, I think.
Oh, okay.
For the initials until we went to NWF.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Big corporate, huh?
No, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad when kids can threaten an airline.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, they just contacted Group W and said that they have a trademark on TWA and they would prefer that not be used.
Huh.
So yeah, yeah, that was a fun show. So yeah, so Andrew, I don't know if you knew that, but I took a dive for you on that one. I wanted you to have the belt.
I didn't know that, but I guess maybe I'm not totally surprised. You you were older, bigger, stronger. I'm not terribly surprised, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with I earned it. I'm gonna stick with it.
But you did earn it. You did earn it in all those
one way or the
title
other. I
defenses.
guess I did. Yeah, one
I
way.
mean,
or
you
the
held
other.
on to the belt for a long time.
Yeah.
That's your
There's
story,
not
and you're
many
sticking
people
to it, huh?
Yeah.
There's not many people that can say that they're a world champion of anything,
Right.
and I've got it. I've got proof right there. So all the haters, they can just suck it.
Still ace after all these years.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned your nickname stuck with you, and so did mine. People to this day, my nephew, he still calls me Crusher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and a lot of my friends and everybody around here in Salt Lake City, because my gamer tag was Crusher, so they call me Crusher just because of that.
Okay.
So I kind of use the name anytime I did anything. So, but yeah, so that was a pretty cool show. Now, we talked. One thing I'm going to show you quick before we wrap the show up is you talked about that title match, grabbing the ropes with Merciless Mike.
Yeah.
Well, here's Mark's response to that. I got it on video where he talked about that. Let me just grab it here, and it's only about a minute and a half, but you'll be able to hear what Mike had to say about it.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Oh, I remember it well. I do know. I mean, that was the first show where we had, real wrestling. And again, I was bigger. He might have been a year younger. I don't know. We were about the same age, but I was quite a bit bigger than he was, and I was basically throwing him around the ring, and I mean, I outweighed him by a decent amount, but it was ridiculous because no matter where I put him, he could get to the ropes. I know the ring was rectangular in shape instead of a square, and for half the match, basically, I'm trying to figure out how I can get his body the long way in the rectangle so that he can't reach over. But no matter what I did, he could always get a leg out. I was furious. I mean, I wanted the belt. I believe before the match, in my memory, when we predetermined things, it was my turn to get the belt, and I was going to get the belt. We decided, let's go to real wrestling. And I said, that's fine, because I figured I would win. And when I didn't, and it was such... It bothered me on two levels. One, I wanted the belt, but also it looked ridiculous. I mean, the match literally consisted of me moving him to the middle, getting on top of him so that he couldn't reach the ropes, and him wiggling away and putting a hand or a foot on the ropes. And I remember as soon as the match was over, I booked down the hallway at Group W and went into the restroom and just paced. I was so mad, and I was furious. So I paced for a while. I mean, after I cooled off, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't mad at Andrew or anything like that.
So there you go. Merciless Mike's response to that match.
Okay. None of that surprises me. And it's kind of fun to see him throwing me around too. I was like trying to really grab on. He just ripped me right off of that.
He was furious. But like you said, there was no hard feelings. He was fine after, he wasn't mad at you or anything. It's just, that's the thing when it's real, for that match, you're into it. You want to win. Yeah. And that's what you experienced a lot of, in your reign. Well, it's been fun. I hope you enjoyed coming on with us today and joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for reaching out. Good to connect with you again, Crusher, and Dixie Dave. Good to meet you. Been cool hanging out.
Good to meet you too, Ace.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll have to get together, maybe meet up in Anoka there.
Right. Stone's throw. Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good.
We've got a mutual friend, so add me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, not everybody wants to come on. We've had some of our guys in '86 that were great on the show. But they're not. They just don't really not want to. They don't want to do. They're not into podcasts and stuff. So they don't really want to come on. But and that's fine. To each their own.
And we've had people that have agreed to come on, and they no-show us.
Oh, that's not cool.
Yeah, we've had a couple no-shows. Not only a couple though. And one was they told me ahead of time, so I knew it was coming. But
hey, that wound up being a good show though.
Yeah, it was. It was. We make it work. We go live either way. So, and even Dave no-showed me one time when you overslept. Remember?
Yep.
Doing it by myself.
At 8 p.m.
Well, he works at a third shift.
Oh, okay.
So he's usually catching a sleep right before the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those guys. My full-time job, I work from midnight to like 8:30. Then I go to a part-time gig, and
oh, jeez.
So like today, I don't think I got home until about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but no, it's been fun. So it's been great, everybody. So having Ace on the show, he was the first year inductee in the Hall of Fame. Our Hall of Fame, Andrew, is not decided by me. It's voted on by primarily our YouTube subscribers. We have about 2,000, and our Pivot Share users, and they're the ones that voted on. Like they've watched most of the stuff, and then they're the ones that voted. So.
Okay.
I'm real big on that. I don't want to decide. I hate Hall of Fames where other people are. It should be decided by the fans, in my opinion, or people watching. So that's kind of how I leave it. So and you were the first part of that.
We're not like the WWE Hall of Fame where it's who can brown nose the boss the best.
Yeah. It's political, So so they you, myself, Kelsey, Campa, and you were the first four to come into our Hall of Fame back then. So, yeah, so it's been great having one of our first Hall of Famers in here and watching an old classic show. It was a lot of fun. So, thanks a lot for joining us, Ace. It was great.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
All right.
And thank you, France, for joining us. We'll see you next week.
And we'll be back.